Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hello, my name is Ray Galvin, and I'm an alcoholic. You know, when I was young and I'd see some old guy like me, you know, that looked like 35 cents worth of God help us get up here. I say, oh, jeez, another 45 minutes of nostalgia. You know. All these guys talk about is the past. They never talk about the future. Well, you know, now I've achieved that age, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to talk about the past. Not my past, your past. And your future. I'm sure I'm going to skip all of the things that happened in my childhood, and mine wasn't too much different than yours. And I'm going to get right into AA, really. But I want to warn you that, those of you that are new, that nothing I say here is going to make you well. We have some folks on the program that have that ability, but I'm not one of them. And I'm not intimidated by that, really, I'm not. Because I know that the greatest force for healing is the love that is in this room, and rooms like it all around the world. And this love is for fun and for free. For fun and for free, all you have to do is come and sit down, and you don't even have to listen, because the love is here, and just by osmosis, that love is going to, and you know, you may not like the Irish. A lot of the Irish don't like the Irish. So, you know, if you want to, you can play baseball in your head or figure out chess moves or something. Because nothing that I say here is really going to make you well. And so sit and relax, and we'll see if we can have some fun along the way. I know I'm an alcoholic from birth. Now, I don't want to advance any theories on genetics or on medicine, because I don't know anything about that subject. But to more or less to substantiate the claim to the fact that I was an alcoholic from birth, I want to tell you why I believe so. I was very tall and very thin, and my mother tried all the patent medicines trying to fatten me up, and nothing seemed to work. Until one day an old Irish lady came to my mother, and she said, Nellie, she said, there's only one thing in the world that's going to put any flesh in this boy's body, and that's a glass of sherry wine every morning with the raw egg in it. And my mother went out and bought a bottle of sherry wine and dropped the raw egg into it. The next morning they came at me, and it looked like a jaundiced eyeball coming at me. And I took off running, and they chased me and caught me and held me down just once. And I relate this in my life when we lived in this house between we lived in this house when I was between the ages of 7 and 9. So for argument's sake, we'll say that I was just 8 years old, and I was a troubled kid. I was an uptight kid. I couldn't learn, you know, and I was never in touch with myself. I didn't like anything until I had that first drink of wine. And I felt that, and even today, I was 8 years old. I'm 78 years old now, and I can feel that wine going down and warming me all the way down. And my mother kept this wine out. I didn't know what happened to me, but it was the first time that I felt relaxed. It was the first time that my fists kind of opened, that I relaxed. And for for all of my life, I was an open fist or a clenched fist. And I joined the Army, got out of the Army, and returned to the house that my mother and father provided for us. And it was a nice house. But I drank every day. Now, I wasn't drunk every day, but I drank every day. On one drunken excursion, I punched the panels out of the doors of my mother's house. On another drunk, I beat up my father. On another drunk, I punched holes in the plaster, going up to my room on the third floor. And you know, that's insane, totally insane. And I knew it was insane. Long before I ever came to AA or even knew what AA was, I knew that when I took that first drink that I was insane. And I didn't use any cute little euphemisms, you know, I'm a little kooky, a little strange. When I get drunk, I tell you flat out, I'm insane, stay away from me. And I ran out of friends, I ran out of everything back east, and I came out here. And I told someone I was coming out here, and whoever it was I told must have had a tremendous hatred against the city of Long Beach because they touted me on going there. And I arrived in Long Beach, and I was here about a very, very short time when I bought a little beer bar. Now, this was a nice little family-type operation when I bought it, and I immediately converted it into a sewer. And I really loved that sewer, I really did. I broke every law there. But anyway, they told me that I couldn't have any hard liquor on the premises, and even if they found an empty whiskey bottle or an empty wine bottle on the premises, that they would close me up for a period of time. And I said, well, I'm not going to drink that swill, that 3.2 swill, you know. So I got a hold of a Clorox bottle and I cleaned it out. And I filled it full of VO and I had it under my sink. And I had some customers there that I trusted. I didn't particularly like them, but I trusted them. And I was serving them this good Canadian booze and serving them and serving it to them in a coffee cup. Now, it may be shocking to you because it was shocking to me when these people objected to drinking this good Canadian booze out of a coffee cup. You know, I'd have drank Sterner water or a rubber boot and been damn glad to get it on a couple of occasions, you know. But anyway, one day this guy said to me, he said, you know, Galvin, there's no law against having fruit juices in a beer bar, so you lay in some orange juice and some vodka, and we could drink what looked like a screwdriver out of a glass. He says, how about that? I can't cut this coffee cup anymore. And I thought that was a grand idea. My business was going to expand. But I didn't know exactly where I was going to keep my vodka. But my little Irish brain went to work, and I went downtown and I bought an aquarium, a 5-gallon aquarium. And I cleaned it out thoroughly, and I put gravel in it and marbles in it for color, and a ceramic castle and some kind of plastic fern, and 5 gallons of vodka, and I was off and running. And I was serving it to people with a turkey baster, and everybody got the same squeeze, whether you were brand new there, whether I liked you or I didn't like you. You get the same squeeze out of that turkey baster. So and nobody can ever say that I cheated them. No. But anyway, I had a relic from World War I working for me there, and Pete, God forgive me, he was an alcoholic. I don't have the right to say that, but he is, or he was. And I didn't care how much of the 3.2 stuff he drank. But anyway, I had been partying for about 2 or 3 days. I went to the bar and I had a head like all outdoors. And I went to the bar and I went to the register, and geez, I saw these angelfish floating around in my vodka. And I thought, oh, Jesus. Oh, I got the DTs, but when I got the DTs, I wanted to see smoking things coming out of the wall, or, huge, not angelfish. Anyway, I put my hand in there, and I come up and I had a dead fish right there. I said, Pete, where the hell did these fish come from? He said, Ray, he said, they answered the tank. He said, but she brought the fish down. He said, I should have changed the water, Ray. He said, because they no sort of went to the bottom and came up dead. So I said, Pete, look at me, Pete. just take a look at me. I said, my nerves are shattered, completely shattered. I'm flying in 9 different directions, Pete. I said, now don't put any fish in there. I don't like what they do in there. I don't like fish. I don't include them in my diet. Don't put fish in there. And if you ever change the water, I'm going to kill you. Now, I stole a lot of money in it. It was just a little tiny little beer bar. 1515 South Street in Long Beach. Anybody who's familiar there. And I didn't get to sell it. I lost it. But I'm not going to go into all the lurid details about my losing. It was a fight. And somebody talked about loneliness. And I was in a felony attack in Long Beach jail. And, those of us that are addicted, we know we have a loneliness that only we know. And I know there's somebody here from Al-Anon, because that's the only part of our disease that we could communicate. It's the only part of our disease that you could catch. So if there is anybody here from Al-Anon, why, you also know all about that loneliness. And the felony attack in Long Beach had a window that looked up Pacific Avenue, a barred window. And I was the loneliest guy in town, really. And looking up there, and I'd been arrested before and in jail before. But somehow this was different. This was different. And I don't know why, but it was different. And but I had a trial, and this Mr. Frazier admitted punching me first, and I was acquitted. But I had to turn the key in that little gold mine and walk away from it. I had a difficult time finding employment, and I finally got a job as an automobile salesman at 929 American Avenue in Long Beach. And one day I was standing outside the showroom, and there's some people moving furniture in upstairs. And I said to this other salesman, I said, who's moving in up there? He said, I don't know. He said, a bunch of drunks. He said, they got mad at that AAAAA thing. He said, and they're starting their own drunken society. So, I put it back here. There's no smart remarks. I just put it back here. Well, sometime after that, and there was a string of bars in Dominguez, and there was one bar there that would tolerate my nonsense, and I could drink there. And I was in that bar, and every nerve ender was aflame. I'll tell you, I couldn't drink enough to pass out. I couldn't sleep. All I wanted to do was just get out of this world, sleep or pass out for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Please, God, 5 minutes. And the more I drank, it had no effect. And I wasn't maudlin, I wasn't, but I suddenly got up from that stool, and I went out to my car, and I knew where I was going, but I didn't know to whom. And I backed my car out of the parking space and put my foot on the brake and went right to the floor. All the fluid had drained out of the master cylinder while I was in that bar. And I had quite a distance to drive. It was 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the evening. And I arrived at 929 American Avenue to the 12-step house. There was a long flight of stairs. I climbed those stairs. And I heard some laughter, and I saw a light. And I walked in, and I felt that I intruded into somebody's apartment. I turned to leave. And this guy said to me, do you have a drinking problem? And I said, I do. He said, sit down. And anyway, they talked to me, I talked to them, and told them about arriving there without a break. And they fed me the coffee, and there was a lot of things that went on that impressed me immensely. Even in the state that I was in, that mental fog, they were getting through that fog to me, And this guy said to me, he said, every Sunday morning we have a meeting here. And he said, would you like to go? I said, indeed I would. He said, I'll tell you what to do. He said, you leave your car downstairs tonight. Bill Jennings will drive you home. He'll pick you up in the morning, take you to the meeting, and after the meeting you can have your car fixed. How about that? And that's exactly what happened. Pardon me. And as I climbed the stairs, there was a very, very well-dressed guy, very handsome, and he kind of oozed culture, and I was intimidated by that. But I figured that was the FBI man, and I figured, well, for some reason or another, I had an idea that the FBI monitored all of the meetings, but he was over there and I went over here. But as it turned out, he was a leader. He rapped for order. He said, "Good morning, everybody." He said, "My name is Dale." He said, "And I'm an alcoholic." And Dr. Rice said, "God almighty, how can anybody who looks that cultured and that smart stand up in front of all of these people and say a terrible thing like that?" I said, "Tune him out. He's a kook." And I didn't hear a thing that he said. But a little while later, this lady got up, walked up front. She picked up a book and she said, "Hello, everybody." She said, "My name is Jane." She said, "I'm an alcoholic." Oh, boy. This is his sister, and this is a congenital defect, and the group was being nice. I said, "Don't listen to her. Don't listen to her." But this is a participation meeting, and everybody that participated at that meeting said, they identified themselves and qualified themselves as alcoholic. And then when I knew it was a part of belonging and a part of being, I'd have hung my head out the window that morning and said, "Hey, my name is Ray Galvin and I'm an alcoholic." And I've been saying it ever since. I'm about as anonymous as a harbor pier, but I'll protect my anonymity and your anonymity where the traditions say I must. But when I'm with you, my name is Ray Galvin and I'm an alcoholic. Now, everybody that participated at that first meeting said, "You want to stay sober, you got to go to meetings. You understand that? Meetings." That's all I heard. Meetings. That afternoon, I went to a meeting at the Alano Club. That, too, was a participation meeting. All I heard was meetings. That night, I went to a meeting, it was a speaker meeting, and a man by the name of Lee Montoya was a speaker. And I don't know what Lee had in mind as he approached as he came to the meeting. I was sitting there up front, and he says, "Hey, Slim, that's how long ago it was. He says, "Slim, you want to stay sober?" And I nodded. And he said, "You got to go to meetings. You understand that? Meetings. And in those years, I've been sober 40 years, and AA was, I don't know how new it was in Long Beach, but it was only 20 years old, in the countrywide. And we didn't have a menu that you new folks have, If you have a sponsor, he tells you get in the corner, sit down and shut up for 90 days. And if that doesn't fit you, well, get another sponsor. There's all kinds of people here that are willing and dying to help you. And the sponsors, there's no such thing as firing a sponsor. And people that come up and ask me if I'll sponsor them, I say, "No, I'll be your friend, pal. I don't want to sponsor you. I'll guide you through the steps. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll tell you if I think you're barking up the wrong tree, but I'm not. Please don't call me a sponsor. Call me a friend." And so I say this to the new folks because, if the man is telling you to stand in the corner, stand on your head in the corner, and flap your hands loosely for 45 minutes, and if he's been staying sober and he has some sobriety, then that's the way he does it. But if it doesn't, if you don't want to do that, get somebody like the guy that I got a hold of. I attended my fourth meeting, a tough guy, and my home group was a maritime group, and this guy had one arm tattooed all over, and smashed in face, I was right at home. And I attended the meeting, Tuesday night family group. And after the meeting, the guy said to me, "Listen, be here tomorrow, next week about 6:45. And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you're leading the meeting." I said, "Hey, I've only got, be here. You're leading the meeting." And that impressed me, really. I figured this tough guy, believes that I'm going to stay sober for the next 7 days. And I couldn't wait to get out of bed in the morning and put another notch in that, you know. And I said to him, you sit beside me and tell me how to lead the meeting. He said, I'll be there, don't worry. And so that was my introduction to AA. And so now you have, those of you that know, there's a menu as long as he's here. But the secret to AA is coming to meetings, because here you're going to find God's greatest love, and it's an undemanding love, and it's a non-critical love. It's a love, just a love. And all you have to do is, as I said before, nothing I say is going to make you well. You can turn me off. You can read a newspaper. But please stay here and keep coming to these meetings, because just by osmosis, the love that is in this room and rooms like it all over the world is going to, get to you. And then you're going to find yourself warming up to yourself. You're going to find yourself liking yourself. You're going to find that your fists are unclenched and you're unclenched, And then, I'm really skipping ahead here, but everybody's telling me about the promises. And I'd see a guy, I was on a program for about 2 years. I see a guy who came on with me. He's driving a Cadillac. Another guy, he's got a big job. I said, when am I going to get mine? When am I going to get mine? Hey! And my higher power was set me up for mine. Set me up, but I had to wait for his time. Now, I was a pretty good dancer. That was the only thing I could do. The only thing I could do was how to dance. And a guy saw me dancing, and he said, listen, he said, I'm going to be doing a play here. He said, The Drunkard is closing in Los Angeles. I'm going to bring it down here to Long Beach. He said, I'm not an actor. He said, yes, you are. You're an actor. So I said, well, listen, I'm not an actor, but if you want to show me and teach me, fine. And I never insulted anybody's intelligence. If I don't know something, if you've given me an opportunity, I'll tell you flat out, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn, please. And for those of you new people, opportunities are going to come to you if you keep coming to this program. And God has such magnificent plans for you, plans that you never thought possible. I had very little education. I had no skills whatsoever, other than a good dance I learned on the streets of New York. And, but I said, okay. So anyway, I went to the Drunkard, and Corey Allen saw that, and he asked me he told me he was going to be doing a play with Herschel Bernardi, and would I like to do it, and I said yes. And by that time, I had some skills, some stage. I knew stage right from stage left, and we were on the road with it. And some people by the name of Mayring saw that. And they were going to be doing a film called The Proud and the Tall, and they asked me if I would care to read for that, and I said yes, but I don't have a SAG card. We'll take care of that. And that's what happened. It just rolled along. Now I'm skipping years, but this is just 10 minutes. But there was a lot of love, and I went to join the workshop. I knew how much I had to learn, and I joined a place called Theatre East, and I watched all the good actors and how they moved and what they did, and so anyway. I started doing films and TV, little bits, and the Coors came out with the light beer. Now, all of the Coors commercials, they had Sylvan Scene, waterfalls and all that kind of nonsense. But when they came out with the light beer, they needed someone to introduce the light beer. And I was someone that they chose. And looking at that camera, telling all who listen the bounties, the bountiful things that this light beer is going to give you. And that ran for about 6 months, but the checks are coming in. And one morning my phone rang. And the guy introduced himself. He said, I'm from Kelly Nason, which was the ad agency. He said, and a friend of yours, he said, called Adolf Coors and told him that you were an alcoholic and that you don't drink anymore. He said, you know, this Truth in Advertising, he said, Adolf is tearing his hair out. He said, are you an alcoholic? I said, hey, that's a disease, isn't it? He said, yeah. I said, why don't you call my doctor? No. He said, I don't want to call your doctor. He said, tell me, do you drink? I said, well, I haven't had a drink today, and I haven't had a drink yesterday, but if I take a drink tomorrow, I promise you, it'll be Coors. He said, that's fine. Yeah. I was never sharp enough, I was never really that clever mentally, but my higher power took over, you know. So when you find yourself up, you know, uptight and you have no place to go, really, just depend upon the faith that you have here. And, you know, the people that got up here and said, I've turned my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand them. These people impressed me so much, and I wanted to be just like them. I wanted to be able to get up here and say, I've turned my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand them, because I had a coattail to hang on to, you know. I knew I could get up here, but unless I believed it, why, you know, I was just being hypocritical, and it didn't mean anything. But I was at a meeting one night, the young lady got up, and it was a participation meeting, and this young lady said, I've turned my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand them, and I believed her. And I said, wow, you believe that lady, you know? You believe her. And it was like a needle caught in a track. You believe that she believes. You believe that she believes. I didn't hear anything else in that meeting. You believe that she believes. You believe that she believes. And all the way home, you know, you have faith in her faith. She believes, so you believe. And every meeting that I would go to thereafter, I would silently pray that someone would get up here and say, I've turned my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand him, because I had another coattail to hang on to. Now, through the years, I've hung on to thousands and thousands and thousands of coattails. And it isn't necessary for me to hear it anymore, but I like to hear it. And I have a very lenient higher God. He doesn't expect the great and noble deeds from me, you know. And he doesn't expect me to go out and do wondrous things. And the only prayer I knew growing up was, oh, Jesus, you know. And at least, you know, my higher power. So this guy, you know, he's improving. He's getting better. At least he isn't going, oh, Jesus. So just trust. And if there's anyone here that's having a problem with the spiritual aspect of this program, I'd like to make a deal with you, if I may. If at the end of the meeting you come up and you tell me that you don't believe, and you want me to believe that you don't believe, because I'm going to believe that you don't believe if you come up here and you tell me that you don't believe. But in order to make this thing equitable now, when you come up here and you tell me that you don't believe, and you want me to believe that you don't believe, because I don't believe that you don't believe, you better be prepared to believe that I believe when I tell you that I believe. You can't be more fair than that, right? Even from a used car salesman. That's as good as it gets. And every time you hear somebody say, I believe, just believe it and forget it. Believe it and forget it. And don't look for God. Don't make a big McGill out of it. And don't look for God in high places. If the theologians on the program are telling me the truth, and there's no reason for them to lie to me, that we are all created in His image. We are all created in His image. And when you're out there and you're all alone, and you think that you're all alone, and you're frightened, just know that there's a great part of you, that is the image of the person, the deity that created you, and depend upon that. Just depend upon that. Now, a couple of short stories, and I got to sit down. I left the rehearsal one night, and the guy said to me, "Will you drive me home?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Let's stop and get a bite to eat." And I said, "All right." So he stopped, and we both ordered hamburgers. And the hamburger was served in an open-faced bun, and the hamburger was about that big. About as big as a crystal on my watch, I guess. And we both reacted to it. Now, my friend is, I don't know what normal is, but he is an alcoholic. And his reaction was very vocal. You could hear him all over the restaurant. He says, "God damn it, that's a little piece of meat." Now, my reaction, although I didn't say anything, but my reaction was, "God damn, that's a big bun." Now, this guy created a scene. He didn't want to pay for it. I didn't mind paying for it. He left there hungry. I wasn't hungry. I was full of bread, but I wasn't hungry, And all the way to this guy's house, he's clicking his teeth together, screaming about this little piece of meat. Every once in a while, and he's still talking about, "I am too." I am too. This happened years ago. But anyway, I thought to myself, now why do we both react so differently to this? Why do we both react so differently? And it dawned on me that I, because of AA, could look at the whole picture. I looked at the whole picture. Now, my non-alcoholic friend, the only thing he could see was that little piece of meat that was making him screw himself into the ceiling. See, that was all he could see, And you got to look at the whole picture. And the whole picture is magnificent. It's magnificent. You're magnificent. This program is magnificent. The love that is here for fun and for free. Everything here is for fun and for free. We ask nothing of you. Nothing. We ask you to take care of yourself. And if you have any problems, you come to us. You come to us. And just trust us, please. For the love of God, trust this program. And when I came here, I had on a suit that was worth $100. Actually, it was a $40 suit, but it had $60 worth of chili all down the front of it. That's a lie. But they told me, they said, "Galvin, you have to clean that mess up. You have to do it yourself, bean by bean by bean. And we're going to stand there and we're going to applaud you and we're going to encourage you. But you have to, bean by bean by bean, you have to clean up your own mess. You know what we mean?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And they encouraged me, but just flipping it bean by bean by bean. So I'm really thrilled that you invited me here, and I'm thrilled that of all the birthday people, I applaud you. It's every moment that you stay sober, everything that you do for yourself is such an achievement. You've won such a battle. You've won a battle. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. to install the joysticks for control. Up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. If that shows up, the gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.